Melt my eyes is a metaphor for things we choose not to see on a daily basis. We avoid people, we avoid the news, we avoid criticism, but most importantly, we avoid facing truth ourselves when it's right in front of us. See Your Future comes from self-reflection and the realization that I'm going to do something better for the world by letting them know that we are all the same and we can move forward in life if we don't focus on the past.
Yo, take a ride on my train of thought. Fundamentals, what I bought, penny less.
The first verse sets the tone for the entire album. Denzel said in an interview that while his past albums have been about anger, sadness, homesickness, this one is about self-discovery. Flaws in everything, shit to work on.
Was hard rocks, these stones getting thrown. My temptations are amplified when I get alone. Tried to separate the action from the man. I wholeheartedly understand why I need to grow even though I'm grown. If I did you wrong, I vow to make it right. Judge me off appearance, it was said to me I'm impolite. Dealt with thoughts of suicide, women I've objectified. Couldn't see it through my eyes, so for that I apologize. I'm desensitized, working hard to empathize. Strung out on love addiction and groupies when souls collide. I've been this way since the day I turned 6. I've been touched before, way before I touched my...
I was so shocked at how explicit Denzel was about his experience being molested as a child. I found an interview where he said it's embarrassing to talk about because it's emasculating, but it is something he's working through, so he wants to be open about it.
Writing, rapping, wisdom, whiskey, women, wars, and weed. Narrating all these conflicts and top it off with greed. I keep walking, I keep walking, I keep... It's time to get my spirit right on earth before my sins become an evil curse. Conquer thirst, can't revert to who I was at first. I channel God through this verse. Accountability, I take responsibility for all my actions. I pack them in these soliloquies.
Wow, what a vulnerable first listen. Oh my god. I don't know how explicit that he's being with this, or if a lot of this is already known about him. I'll have to do a little bit of digging while I'm doing my shallow dive, but I love the messaging that he wants to grow from this, and yeah, man, that's not what I was expecting at all. I feel like I always say that. I don't ever have any expectations going into these albums. I don't know. I love the use of the piano. While he was planning out this album in 2018, he wanted to incorporate acid jazz, trip-hop, R&B, jazz, boom bap, drum and bass, jungle, funk, neo-soul, dancehall, punk, and synth-pop. It's a wide variety, and on this one I can definitely hear the more jazzy influences, especially thanks to Robert Glasper's piano feature and production. Oh, I might have heard this one before. This sounds extremely familiar.
Got in touch with my soul, trading softly on the path down the rockiest road. Life isn't ice cream without monopoly dough. The property grows in value, and rightfully so. I gotta have it.
Because the first track was so individualistic, I didn't initially catch that Walkin' was more about the overall, the systemic issues, and a topic that will continue to pop up throughout the album.
Clear a path as I keep on walking. Ain't no stopping in this dirty, filthy, rotten, nasty little world we call a home. They get Mickey.
You know me. I love a good beat switch.
So they resort to scams and robbing. Take away stress, we ganja copping. Blow it all out, it's all forgotten.
I think I said it, it might have been in a Tyler video, or it might have been, actually, who knows at this point. I feel like all the artists that I'm listening to are doing this, but it does have the breathy in the back that really brings a lot of energy. I'm really loving that.
I've been 180 to talk to one lady.
I love that he brings up his experience with therapy or a psychologist. I've been seeing my therapist for a year now, and it's definitely helped me to regulate my emotions, or at least understand myself better.
Who the fuck said stop the trap, bruh? Let a real nigga talk. I walk from the bitches, I walk from the friendship, I walk from some ditches, cause lately my nigga, I'm feeling indifferent.
Apparently his sound is generally more aggressive in previous albums, so this track or style was a bit unexpected for his fans. I'm impressed that it was still well received regardless. It shows his ability to branch out and gives him space to express himself.
This is a sour film.
Oh my god.
Directed, written, and starred by the one
sense a pattern from the artists you all suggest. They all want to leave a legacy and do something greater than music. They're directors, they're visionaries, and they're creating something new.
I have no
Oh my god. Okay, I vaguely remember seeing like the intro to a music video or something. I don't think that I've listened to this whole song, so it was really good. I'm sure that was like the single or something, that's why I've heard it already, but oh my goodness. And the production on this is so clean. I love it. Immediately, I love the old school feel of this one with the record scratches and swinging drums, and I feel like it gives a lot more space to focus on the lyrics. This one drops amazing quotables.
So every line that Curry drop is equivalent to a punch, cause they smacked us in the face with that bullshit. Now I come the worst and I'm punching the full clip. The first come the I talk to God on the daily. They draw guns, so how could lead erase me? I'm baffled. And who's that sitting straight to the left? War. They say
I love that he references the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse here. It helps to emphasize how terrible things actually are in the world.
In the face with that bullshit. Now I gotta focus on making my soul live. Worst come the worst, then I'm hoping my soul live. Worst come the worst, then I'm punching the full clip.
From an interview, I found that this track was a direct response to the George Floyd protests. It did get violent, and it really did feel like a worst come to worst situation. A war on everyday Black lives against police brutality. Oh my god. Does this mean what I think it means? I don't know. I always feel a little bit of pressure to not actually speak my mind while I'm listening to it, or like say, oh, I think that this references this, because then I feel embarrassed when I do research later and I'm like, oh, I totally missed the mark on that. But I guess that's kind of the point of these anyway. Worst comes to worst, I mean, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Anytime that I can have is baby.
Walk around the hood like I'm John Wayne.
I did have to look up who John Wayne was to kind of get the reference, but I think the production is so fitting, definitely feels like an old Western film.
Great, no remorse, I'ma get on boys' brain. We sang. 911 emergency will murder me today. I call them, now they got me living lawless, being the furthest thing from flawless.
Denzel's brother was unfortunately killed by police in 2014, and he's seen firsthand how unjustifiable police brutality is against Black lives. He said, "It is on a scale to the point where I feel like I need to get a gun to protect myself from the people that are supposed to protect me."
I'ma let that big bang. I'ma give them what they gave us on the first grade. No remorse, I'ma get them boys' pain.
This track was produced by JPEG Mafia, which is amazing, but I also found a Twitch clip of Danny Brown rapping to it like 2 years ago. That's the kind of lore I love. If you have any more stuff like that, please leave it in the comments. Oh my goodness. A lot of these are kind of short. Well, really loving the production of this topically. You know, a lot of systemic issues, especially in the US. I didn't really have to grow up with that experience, but I mean, I wouldn't wish it on anybody, right? I'm glad that he's talking about it though, because it's rough.
Any nigga be elastic. So much trouble on the streets that we need to buy a AK. Rock a mask for the whole day.
I've heard from the comments that this album was completely unexpected topically from Denzel, and I found in a Reddit AMA he said, "I switch up on every album because I get bored, and Andre 3000 told me to never get bored. I always look for new direction because eventually it'll become predictable if you knew what I was going to do next. It keeps you on your toes."
Struck me harder than a bow and arrow. Time is getting worse for people in the ghetto. Too many homeless, people laying down too many roses. Losing loved ones that be the closest. People run up with guns fully loaded. They might blow it. Got me some other shit, can't fall in love with it. I say a prayer to not be the prey. Hoes with the drama OD. Then they turn around and throw their trauma on me. These are only reasons why I stay low key. And I knew this world was shitty when we lost Kobe. Young man, black man, I'm a Negro. World had to heal, now the world need growth. Cops killing blacks when the whites do the most. So your so-called revolution ain't nothing but a post, period.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I think that it's like blacks are 2 or 3 times more likely to be killed by police, even though they only make up like 13% of the population. It's like, it's so obviously a race issue still, you know? I hate that so much. This This outro is so confusing to me because it's so beautiful, despite the ugliness of the world Denzel was just pointing out. I think it could be interpreted in a couple ways. Maybe it's to remind us that things could be better. Maybe it's to symbolize an afterlife after your last day. Let me know what you think. Oh my god. Such a beautiful outro.
Let me take you higher than herbalists climbing treetops. This is not rap, my nigga, this more like bebop. Clash of Freddy.
Actually, I'm pretty sure the first time I heard about Denzel Curry was when he was working on the Cave stuff with Kenny Beats, but the only interaction I've had with him was responding to him when he tweeted Jujutsu Kaisen. Anyway, all this to say, I love this little Cowboy Bebop references in this first verse, even though I never finished that series.
These flows, so get the recorder. My mental state is whatever happens, happens.
Oh. Piano. Denzel seems to have been a longtime advocate for mental health, encouraging labels to pay for therapy and stuff because it's helped him so much with his own experiences. And I did see a lot of people commenting that they feel more open to talk about their mental health because of Denzel and others who also talk about it.
Repetitive gunfire, that bass in it, but the cries drowned it out. Sampled bomb blast in the Pacific and let it run to the earthquake on the other side. Looped it. Will screams.
The spoken word is incredible. Made music of everything, literally. The bass in repetitive gunfire, sampling bomb blasts. What comes first? Life imitating art imitating life, or meeting somewhere in the middle?
Dancing alone in front of speakers. My whole life.
I love that transition.
My mama called to pull up to the club. Ain't nothing left to do, but now a nigga gotta hustle. I got it out the mud and then I did it off the muscle. Maneuver through the game, I put my niggas in the huddle. Now we all just running routes and fitting pieces to the puzzle. Why, nigga, hey.
Again with the voice, it's just so strong and so strained, which is just like adds to the aggression.
Got some fellas that the music can't fix. Whole squad, everybody on the dick. Get on my dick. More money, more problems, and we lit. All my exes Texas saying I ain't shit.
With all the genres and moods and feelings he wanted to bring on this album, I'm so glad he brought on T-Pain for this one. Apparently it was by chance too. Denzel sent him a couple tracks for feedback, and T-Pain sent back a Dropbox file with his classic voice on the treble split.
Make beautiful music play
Ain't nothing
around.
left to do, but now a nigga gotta hustle. I got it out the mud and then I did it off the muscle. Why, nigga, hey.
Got some troubles that these drugs can't fix. We might struggle because life's a bitch. Think you happy when your ass get rich. Blowing money cause I bag it.
Got some troubles that these drugs can't fix. We might struggle because life's a bitch.
Oops, I already mentioned that I first heard about Denzel when he was working with Kenny Beats, so I'm really happy to see his production on this album. It's so bouncy and fun. What a lovely team. Whoa, there's so many people on this
Ain't
one.
no way, niggas still doubt me after this shit. Ain't no way.
Much like with Troubles, Ain't No Way is another track attributed to perfect timing. Denzel said it just happened to be all the right people in the right place at the right time. Everybody was there and they recorded it in one crazy night. Him telling the story is so funny. I'll be sure to link it below for you to watch after.
Ride through the
Oh my
six
God.
without the Drake, but got the good poker face. Do that shit with grace.
Unfortunately, I don't know anyone on this features list aside from Jid, so if there's anyone on here that you think I'd like, please let me know. I'm so curious, especially since a lot of them seem to be close friends.
Bitches smiling in my face, wanna take out me some pump. And I got me a pump, and I shot me a pump. Bitch, I pop in the trunk, bitch, my trunk in the front. Pussy popping it jump. If I pull this chopper out when I shoot, bitch, better duck.
I don't know much about Rico Nasty, but a lot of you have recommended her. So she does sound very aggressive, nasty, if you will. So maybe we will have to do a little bit of a dive into her stuff later.
Still talking slick lightweight.
Mm.
Nigga on the road might escape. Humble as a bitch, but not today.
What you really saying?
Ain't no way I ain't gon' Shawshank from out the shit. Shovel snow, shivering and cold. I don't want the silver, where she goes.
Not gonna lie, I didn't see his name on that long feature list at first. I think I just kind of glazed over it. That's why I was so surprised to hear Jid's voice come up.
Same clothes, watch the same shows, reading rainbows, fuck the same hoes, keep the bang closed, let the thing blow like oh, 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 oh.
Ain't no way, it's the way
I'm now like the biggest fan of Jid, so so happy to see him here. I also like that they did J.I.D here and then just Jid there.
At first I used to fight the shit.
I feel like JID's verse definitely could have been longer, but knowing that it was mostly written on the spot that night, from what I can tell, we are blessed. Oh man, and I don't want to talk too much about Jid's verse compared to everyone else on this feature list, but his use of alliteration and that he uses so much of the S sound, which is what I've always been taught to avoid because it's so harsh, but he makes it work. He makes it beautiful. It's amazing. Everyone else did great on here, but I'm sorry, Jid took the spotlight for me.
My dreams like, ayy, pull up on your bitch like,
oh my god.
Yo, Mac ain't make it to 27. Pac ain't make it to 26. Big ain't make it.
We talked a little bit about Tupac during the Kendrick Lamar Shallow Dives, but I had no idea that he was shot and killed at the age of 26. I've heard the name Notorious Big. I didn't realize that he was also so young when he passed away either.
Since I was a teen, I'm focused on the cream, want the clothes and the kicks. And I don't even count on the X-Wing, I'm just on to the next thing. Growing up, I didn't have the best things. Now my diamonds on my neck gleam.
Oh my god, I love the way that, I honestly don't know how to describe it, but it sounds like putting pressure on the top of your, like the roof of your mouth, but it sounds good, you know, the wing, the thing, gleam.
Better counting sheep, I count dollars. Riding high, Chevy Impala. If I make that bitch an inch taller, then I upgrade to a Skywalker.
Oh my god. Let me know if I'm wrong in saying this, but based off the two features I've heard from him, doesn't this sound like a 21 Savage beat? Denzel also said Ain't No Way and X-Wing were his favorite songs to make on the album.
Next thing, growing up, I didn't have the best things. Now my diamonds on my neck gleam.
Is this real? What is this? Oh, everyone's gonna hate me, but I also haven't seen Star Wars. So, I love the angelic vocals to complement the title of the track. Love the piano. I also noticed there's a Cold-Blooded Soul version of this track on the extended edition that's highly regarded, so I'm excited to check that out.
The meanest streets I walk in, these size 11s I stalk. Not caring if I'm rich or if I'm surrounded by chalk. I can either live like Jay or die like Jah.
Originally, I thought Jah was short for Jehovah in the same way that Jid said, you know I'm a rant when I talk to Jah. But in this case, it's actually short for Jace Onfroy, known by the moniker XXXTentacion, an old friend and roommate of Denzel's who was also killed very young. I think like 20 years old. Denzel declined to talk about Triple X in recent interviews though, so I don't have much to go on about the relationship other than this line, really.
Act like they slick, smile in my face and go and pillow talk to a bitch. Word got back to me, so it is what it is. I don't fuck with no man who don't take care of his kids. Off topic, out of pocket, all these niggas is trash. Fighting for crumbs of fame and some thought with an ass. Fuck them.
I'm so curious. Who is this about? Someone enlighten me. Oh my god. Why does it remind me of like a scene in a detective movie, like an old school detective movie, you know?
Ray, you smell it? That's the smell of death.
Extremely short track at 1 minute 20, but it's produced by Thundercat. You've got a bunch of anime references, very high energy. What more could you ask for? I also haven't seen Naruto. Oh my.
You don't gotta ask why I had to make bloodshed. I get bread like breeze, smoke bomb ass weed.
I also did see a few times that Denzel is completely sober now, including from smoking weed, so I'm not sure if this is him talking about foregoing it with need to chill because I only see red light green. And all of the transitions on this album are so good. Building tension.
You number one, now it's time to start sneaking up. These were my niggas that say I ain't deep enough. Why niggas talking that cash shit? Knowing damn well niggas don't have shit. That's why nigga don't flash shit.
I don't know exactly how much more aggressive his other albums are. All signs point to pretty aggressive, but some of these are just bound to go crazier in a live setting. This one, X-Wing and Ain't No Way, will be crowd pleasers for sure.
That can't every day, quick pace. In your face, bright day, jumping on the interstate too fast, might get caught up in a race. Yeah, you know how it go when it stays for a crate.
Denzel's picks for features on this album have been so spot on. Everyone can at least match the energy of the project and makes it feel all the more fleshed out.
If they don't, then them niggas get shot up. Just heard that they found a nigga last week in his hood with his whole body chopped up. Got me feeling like that.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
Gotta keep my face clean and the gun tucked.
Sunshine stay with a great little life for the ones that can't every day, quick pace.
And I found that the name Sanjuro is a reference to a 60s Japanese film where the titular protagonist saves his uncle who has been framed and falsely imprisoned. I think he's referencing the parallels to the people he's known growing up in Florida. So ominous. I feel like they had a lot of fun producing this one. Just a lot of different effects. The gating, that impact, build.
In a place where we could hardly survive and barely could thrive. My only focus staying alive like zombies revive. The second coming, I have arrived. I'm re-energized. I'm Satoichi leading the blind. Pressure get applied. They cut my niggas down in their prime. Calling for the time to turn back all the consequences. He still stuck on another line. I try to crack a smile and still a frown follows right behind. Excruciating pain like Bane breaking Bruce Wayne's spine.
No way! I really wasn't expecting drum and bass on this album, but it's a pleasant surprise for sure. I think the last time we heard Slowthai was during the Igor reaction, so it's cool to hear more from him. I also love his feature on Flume's mixtape, so I'm wondering if I should just dive into his solo stuff. Wow.
Don't let the 3-6 hypnotize mine. So God is my guide. Create a code amongst the black lives. Make sure it's archived. Then go to every hood.
There's so much in this one.
I'm Satoichi leading the blind. Pressure get applied.
Denzel talked about the blind leading the blind a few times in interviews, and here he references it again with Satoichi being a blind samurai leader in old Japanese films. Definitely a thought he subscribes to on the daily. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah, wow, the energy in this one was so incredible. I wasn't expecting that breakbeat, but it was very welcome. I'm surprised this is the penultimate track, right? So much energy, I feel like there should be more, but... Oh my god. I love this piano intro so much, and I love how it gets used throughout the rest of the track too. The groove being so careful and chill, especially compared to Satoichi. Really ties it back to the first message, growing and becoming, taking care of your mental health.
Yeah. My mind is a playing field for mental arguments. My thoughts are saying my emotions is who started it. Lord invited me to stay idly on this left side so I can right my wrongs in these songs to live and let die.
The use of music and art as a way to work through your traumas is so powerful. I'm definitely guilty of it. Actually, most things I've let go through music have been forgotten in my everyday life, but Denzel also emphasized in another interview that you need to have therapy in addition to your escapes. I wholeheartedly agree.
Later, I'm met with the 9 milli. So 9 times out of 10, I'm probably going to hell cause I'm the devil. Which means I sold my soul to myself, shelf all my worst fears in the mason jar glasses. I devise a way to rise, time to strategize. The purest form of Zeltron made me alkaline, I'm seeing illusions in the pockets of my brain. I use it to find a way to illustrate my pain. Confusion, cause you don't understand the word I'm saying. Forgive me for all I done cause I be barely praying. Conflict against my optimistic hope. The ropes around my neck are golden chains for me to choke. I know. Reflect the locks and the flames that burn across in my very nation. I walk with my peers surrounded by chalk.
Did bring up the chalk visual in Angels, but this time, rather than the idea of himself dying, making more social commentary on the deathly violence in America.
Last guy was nice, but he ended up dying of thirst. I'm seeing illusions in the pockets of my brain.
I wanted to point out the Kendrick bar, but to be honest, I psyched myself out thinking that I was reading too much into it since I'm currently on a Kendrick kick. Now I'm pretty positive it's a reference to Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst from Good Kid, Mad City. I love oh my god. I love the record scratches on this one. I think I also heard them on an earlier track, but I forget which one. Also, I don't know if you can hear me. This is so loud. Wow. Man, I can see why so many of you have recommended this album. Definitely an album of the year contender. Very strong. Hey. Are you okay? You wanna calm down? Very high quality production, very fun production, which is probably the thing that I enjoyed most on first listen. I'll probably have to re-listen a couple times to get a better picture of his rapping and the topics that he's discussing. So yeah, thank you for listening with me. Thank you for sticking around. Kiwi and I hope you have a very good day. Why are you looking at me like that?